Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD podcast. We're going to meet this week's tech expert, but before we do, we just want to remind you the NADC is coming up in a couple of weeks. And leading into that, we're going to be celebrating our 500th interview on the Educational AD podcast by replaying our top 20 episodes for downloads. These are the ones that have been downloaded most by our listeners. Obviously, they're great episodes. We think they're all great, but enjoy our flashback series leading up and into the NADC conference. So before we meet today's tech experts, we want to acknowledge our sponsors. These are all companies that I used as an athletic director. You should be using them too. Here we go. We want to thank our good friends at HUDL for their support of the podcast. Go to HUDL.com and change the way you see the game. As a football coach, I used HUDL for years, and it was just fantastic. But when I became an athletic director, I made sure our school was a HUDL school, and our coaches just loved the tools that HUDL provided that allowed them to coach our kids up at the highest level. HUDL's got tools to help every team, every coach, and every athlete improve. It's a complete solution with professional grade analysis. Go to HUDL.com, see why we believe in sports and teams believe in HUDL. Join the 8 million users and turn your school into a HUDL school. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Gipper's the official social media graphics solution for the podcast. And if you go to Gipper.com, their team is going to show you how to create world-class marketing content for your school's social media channel. Celebrate your athletes and promote your teams. Gipper's used and trusted by over 3,000 athletic programs across the country. It's professional graphic design made simple. So simple, even I can use it. Go to Gipper.com, mention the podcast, you'll get a nice discount. That's Gipper.com. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more. Go to hometownticketing.com. It's digital ticketing that offers more support, more security, and more customization. The Hometown team is here to help you make the best online ticketing solution. hometownticketing.com. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Snap Mobile and Snap Raise. Have you ever gotten frustrated spending hours and days and weeks with a fundraising platform that gives you little, if any, return on your investment? Stop right here. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best fundraising platform out there. We used it at my school with great success, and so can you. It works. Snap also has a variety of platforms like Snap Spend, Snap Sponsor, Snap Store, and a cool one called FanX. You can find them all at snapraise.com. That's snapraise.com. We'd like to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Go to their website, vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their interactive touchscreen. That's right, touchscreen video consoles. It's a great way to show off your school record boards for all the teams, for all the sports, or your school's Hall of Fame, or simply showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments. Mention the podcast, Vital Signs will give you a nice discount. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. Bring your school's legacy to life. We'd like to thank Home Campus for their support. Home Campus is the official high school and state association management platform for us. It's also your one-stop for things like scheduling, student athlete eligibility and clearance, uploading forms, parent help, you name it. Home Campus has it. To get started, all you have to do is go to homecampus.com. As an athletic director, I used Home Campus every single day. That's homecampus.com. We'd also like to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their scoreboards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com for more information. And we'd like to say thank you to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your parents or your student athletes, you're really missing out. Athletic directors already hear back from the complainers, the folks who want to gripe about everything. Athletic surveys will connect you to that group, but they'll also connect you to the 98% of your parents that love and support your program. And that's a tremendously valuable tool to have when you're talking with a parent, principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Let them create that custom survey that'll help you take the pulse of your parents and your student athletes. athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. You're getting a 2-for-1 today. We've got two great guests. One was on our podcast in our original season, and we've got a brand new podcast newbie, but hopefully we're going to get her back for a full-length interview. Our guest today, first, we have Greg Nelson. If you have been using HUDL, that name should be familiar with you. Greg's been with the company for a very long time in a leadership position. I'm going to let him talk about that in just a minute. And our other guest is Jenny Wagner. Jenny's the Activities and Athletic Director at Centennial High School at Centennial in Nebraska. She's been there for 6 years, and she's going to talk later about how she uses HUDL in her program. So Greg and Jenny, welcome to Tech Tuesday.
Thanks for having us.
Okay. Greg, let's go and start with you. Again, when people that listen to the podcast, they hear me say that I used HUDL as a football coach. When I became an athletic director, we were a HUDL school. And so, our listeners know you don't have to sell me on HUDL, but talk a little bit, share a little bit about your background, what you, have done with the company and maybe even outside of HUDL from a coach perspective.
Yeah, so I've been at HUDL for it'll be 14 years in January. We had about 250 football teams using HUDL when I started, and so we're really right at the very beginning. I joined in support, answering phone calls and emails. So there's a chance if you had an issue in the early days, I was the one answering your phone call or email. Did that for a few years, and then I made the jump over to the product side to help build out some of the new product offerings that we had at the time. So I was able to help build the first version of HUDL Assist for football, HUDL Sideline, some of our recruiting tools and our playbook tools. And I did that for about 6 years before jumping into my current role, which is the general manager of our high school and club space. And so I've also had the opportunity to be a coach for all 14 of those years. So I've coached every single year I've worked at HUDL. In the early years, I was an assistant. And then for about 9 years, ending last year, I was a head coach at a small school here in Lincoln. And then this past season, I was an assistant coach at a small college program. So I've been able to find anything that's wrong with the product. I know exactly who to go to. I know how to get it solved. So it's fun. I'm kind of the tech resource for any staffs that I'm on or I run, but it's fun to be able to make sure I see the user side of the products that we're building too and get to use them every day.
Yeah, again, and I look at my own experience. I was an athletic director and a head football coach at the time, and certainly came up and played and coached and led during those the 80s and the 90s. And I started using HUDL finally. I think it was maybe 2011, maybe it was 2010. And up to then it was, yeah, I've heard about that HUDL. Yeah, it's okay. But boy, once I got into it, it was just like, what have I been doing? It just made things so much easier as a coach. And then, as I mentioned, when I became an athletic director, our school, we were a HUDL school. And I was initially maybe a little worried about how our other coaches would like it and would it work? Would it be helpful? And we had the focus cameras in the gym and everywhere. Long story short, our coaches just loved it. They loved it maybe even more than I loved it as a football coach, which as an athletic director was great to see. Looking back on those early days when you were answering phone calls, how have you seen, and I know this is a tough question, but how have you seen the product change and get better just from that? And I know HUDL's doing, like a one-stop shop, but from the original HUDL aspect, how have you seen it grow? And maybe what's the biggest change that you've seen in that particular area?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's been unique and helped us grow and then kind of stay in terms of the market penetration that we see from football and basketball and all these sports is the fact that we're able to replace a pretty dated solution in exchanging video Literally my first year coaching, I had to drive DVDs and meet at McDonald's and swap them
Yep.
back and forth. And like, I got to experience that firsthand. And then I started working at Huddle and I was like, oh, this is obviously way better. But like that network effect of being able to just exchange video with the click of one button has been the thing that I think has continued to keep us in schools as we go. In Nebraska too, I can speak to, we actually have a pretty unique setup with the state association where every single football team is on a league exchange together. And so you upload your game from Friday night and you can see any other game that happened in the state and pull that down if you're playing them. And so it's expanded just from like, I'm going to prepare my team for what I need to do to be able, now I have access to pretty much every game that happened in the state that night. And if I want to scout a team or find another idea from a team that maybe I'm going to play in the playoffs or something like that, I have that video at the hand. So it's really helped, I think, in all the sports that we've had. I think our focus lately has been about how do we bring that value to more and more sports. So obviously we started football, basketball was second, volleyball was third, soccer was fourth. We're expanding to baseball, softball, wrestling. We've done ice hockey and lacrosse in the past too. So our goal is truly to try to provide value for every single sport in some sort of customized way. There are some sports too that we can serve without having, detailed statistics. Like we see dance teams or marching bands even use it to just review their video or review their performances. And so we're going to try to keep pushing the envelope with more and more sports that we can support.
Right. And you mentioned two areas I'm going to comment on. Then, Jenny, I'm going to bring you in. You use that word network and just allowing coaches to, find other coaches and other programs through Huddle has allowed them to up their game and their impact on their program and their kids. And then as current high school basketball official here in Florida, I know you partner with a number of states and a number of associations to allow officials associations to have access to game video so the refs can watch their game and improve. So, tremendous impact in a lot of different areas of high school sports. Jenny, let's go and jump to you. Jenny Wagner, Centennial High School in Nebraska. What was your initial, let's say, awareness and exposure to Huddle, and how have you used it with your athletic program during your time at Centennial?
Yeah. So initially, similar to Greg and yourself, I was a coach prior to becoming an athletic director, and I coached basketball, I coached volleyball. I was a head coach for both of those for 10, 12 years, I guess, prior to getting, I would say maybe to the dark side of the athletic administration, stepping out of the coaching role. But, I was exposed to Huddle, I would say early on in my career, but I was also still the drive into the schools and scouting right away at the beginning of my career, or you're exchanging films, DVDs. And so honestly, it was probably my year 2 or 3 that I was at a school that then took Huddle on. And this was pre the focus cameras. So still, we would have to record them, but we were able just to kind of exchange with the click of the button, and the ease of that as a coach made things so much better. And I'm going to be honest too, as a mom, because I have little ones. And so as a coach, you're already away from your own kids a lot with your team. And then if you're having to go and do extra with scout film or game film and exchange like that, you're even away from your family even more. So I think that Huddle allowed me to be both a mom and a coach. And honestly, then when I came over to Centennial, I just kind of brought that here with me. When I got here, we had a Huddle for our football team and our basketball teams, and those were the only teams that were using it. And so that was maybe around the time that they started the AD package, which was, now it's expanded. The AD package just continues to grow of what they add to that. But initially it had started around that time of where we could get at least all of our core sports, I would say that Huddle was serving that we had. So, we added volleyball. We were at least able to stream our wrestling. They didn't have anything assist wise or anything like that for wrestling, but we were able to stream our wrestling, and then, got our focus cameras for outdoor. We have focus camera in both of our gyms. So we stream everything, all the way from our little kids' youth stuff up through our varsity ball. I think that that's probably been the key as the AD, just what Huddle's trying to do for the AD side of making our jobs easier. and being able to share out things for all of our programs, I think is huge. But, I think my coaches, the value that they have and what I feel like I can give to them for their family time too, is just, Huddle has been monumental in allowing our school to grow. And we're constantly looking at other things that we can add and other sports that we could add to our program.
Right. You use that word value. I think everyone understands, the value that Huddle has, from the video for coaches, breaking it down, the statistics, the tendencies, the exchange, et cetera. Streaming has really taken off in the last couple of years. What are some ways that you mentioned it has, but what are some ways that you've seen the streaming impact your program or your coaches, or your kids, or your families? Because I know some ADs, maybe there's a cranky old AD in Central Florida that's retired. Some are hesitant to take that dive into streaming. So how have you seen that impact your program at Centennial?
Yeah, I think that, we kind of probably just tested the waters pre-COVID, and we would stream a few of our varsity games. We host our entire conference tournament. So the entire Southern Nebraska Conference tournament, the semifinals, and then the whole day Saturday is all at our place in between both of our gyms for basketball. And so it was like just kind of maybe an opportunity to get some of these teams out there that don't always get seen. So we just kind of dipped our toe in. And then I think, COVID hit. And to be honest, that's when everybody's mind shifts changed, I think, of how do we get the, sports and activities and what kids love out to the masses. Because, when we got back to school, at least here in Nebraska, we were limited on the number of people, like fans that could attend. Right. So I think it was like, let's find a way to allow as many people as possible the opportunity to get to watch, even if they can't attend the game. And so, when we started, streaming was free. It still can be free. We don't charge anything for people to watch. But I think the plus side that Huddle brings to that is you have the option to pay-per-view. I think, a while we streamed and there wasn't ever an option that we could have hit pay-per-view, meaning that we could have charged to get a little bit of revenue back to our athletic program. It was just, you're either stream it for free and lose maybe potential gate money, or you're not going to stream it. And then you have grumpy fans that don't get to watch, and I think it's also people that watch around the state or the country or its family, that maybe doesn't live right by there, so they can't get there. I think that that's an important thing that streaming has brought to us. But where Huddle, I think, is on the cutting edge is they're offering the choice of, you can have free to view, you can have pay-per-view, you can opt to, what I've been working with Huddle a little bit of talking about, maybe pay-per-viewing our tournament, because it's a big thing and it impacts a lot of schools, and it, could bring revenue back to our conference. But then I'm still going to maybe stream free for view my regular season games. So I think that that's huge. And then I know that as the AD side, they're also dipping into the sponsorship side, where they're, allowing us to get sponsors that we can put out through our streaming, and help a revenue flow and a revenue generator through our streaming program, which I think is huge as an athletic program.
Well, the streaming is just always intrigued me. Now, when you stream an event for pay, obviously, you know how many people are watching, but if you stream an event for free, is there a way for you to track how many people actually watch the game?
Yeah. So on through the Huddle focus camera, or the Huddle, I should say, dashboard, there is an admin side, and we are able to track or see how many views that each event had, which is great for us. And that's actually what probably pushed us to maybe stream some of our lower level activities, because we saw that a lot of our, JV, reserve, or even junior high activities were being viewed quite frequently. And so it just felt like maybe we were reaching, and whether it was family members, grandparents, people that were farther away for these kids, it gave them the opportunity to be able to watch that. But yeah, being able to see our viewers that we have on our admin side, I think is really nice. And we see that we're giving a service to our community and to our people that would want to view, which is an important thing as an athletic administrator.
Oh, no, absolutely. And that data, again, whether they're paying for it or you're just tracking it free, that's data that you could show to a potential sponsor. Say, hey, look at all the people that are watching this game. How'd you like to get your message involved with that?
That is exactly it.
Jenny, you mentioned before we start recording, you're doing some beta testing, I guess, for some new products. Greg, I'm not trying to steal your thunder here, but what are some of these things that you're working on? It sounds really cool.
Yeah, so we have been one of the few schools that have gotten the opportunity to beta test some different products that Huddle is coming out with. So one of those we started this fall in our softball program, and then we'll do it as well in our spring and baseball. But it's a portable focus camera, essentially, that we're trying to be able to not only stream baseball and softball games, but also bring Huddle Assist to baseball and softball through this portable camera. And so I've been able to give a lot of feedback. Our coaches have gotten to see some things. We've we've done some testing of videos from different angles, whether it's behind home plate, behind outfield, down one, first baseline, third baseline. So just been able to get a lot of feedback. And then I know that they're going to be rolling out with Huddle Assist for baseball and softball here, which is awesome. And then starting this winter, we're going to be a beta tester for their new wrestling assist program. So we haven't started meets yet. So I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but our coach has kind of been working with his Huddle rep, getting familiar with what he needs to submit for Huddle Assist for wrestling. And we're excited to see where that program goes. As an AD, I think the most important selling point for me on that was I can benefit every single one of my coaches and not just the current coaches that I'm helping out with Huddle. But if I can grow our program and grow our coaches that are able to use Huddle, I think that was huge. And to be able to allow every single one of our coaches to benefit from Huddle is what my goal is.
Oh no, absolutely. And I'm right there with you. I knew how much Huddle helped me as a football coach, and I was hoping, and I was absolutely right, that it was going to help all of our other coaches too. I mean, like our volleyball coach is just raving about it after the first year. This is great.
Yep.
So Jenny, we're going to do this at the end of our segment, but if one of our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain, and listeners, I think you got a great resource here. What's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. I am happy to help anyone. You can email me. It is jenny.wagner@centennialbroncos.org, or you're welcome to, call me anytime. I am happy to talk to anybody. My phone number here is 402-310-6957. And I am happy to help anybody that has any questions or guidance or wants to know how to help grow their programs with Huddle.
Well, I'm definitely going to be reaching out. We are going to schedule you for an interview on the podcast.
Happy
We're
to
help you kick off 2024 for us. Greg, let's bounce back to you. You heard Jenny, and again, she's boots on the ground. She's using the platform. Our coaches are using it. Anything that she mentioned that you'd like to add on to, and also as we head into the NADC, what are some things that we can expect from Huddle in Orlando and maybe even into the next year?
Yeah, I think Jenny kind of touched on it. We're really focused right now on trying to find ways to bring more value to the AD. I think traditionally we've done that by serving coaches and making their lives easier, and we want to continue to do that. That will always be our core. But I would say we're making a significant investment right now in AD specific tools. And it's just simple things like a dashboard to see your viewers, or to see how many tickets you've sold, or to see how your teams are using Huddle. That's something that we want to continue to build out and evolve, so you understand the value that you're getting as the leader of the department. I think it's funny because we talk to coaches all the time, every day, and obviously they're the ones using the product, but the ADs are the ones who pay the bills, and the ADs are the ones that are probably going to be there longer than a coach sometimes if there's turnover. And so having a great relationship there and making sure they know they're getting the value is really important thing for us. And so that's where a lot of our investment has gone. In addition to just athletic department kind of administrative tools, we're also trying to build out the right connection between fans and parents and the teams that they want to support. And so that's where a lot of our investment around live streaming and ticketing and highlights and scores and data has come from. We are continuing to hopefully allow ourselves to be the place where if you wanted to see highlights from last night's game because you weren't able to go, you can head there. If you're going to, host a game and you need a digital ticketing solution, we can be that for you too. If you want to stream, we have the most flexible options for any athletic director to be able to choose what the right model for them is. And there's a bunch of different ways you could monetize it or not monetize it. And so flexibility is kind of key for us. All of those pieces are new within the last 12 months for us. And so I think we're only going to keep growing and building that side of it. And I'm excited to see what kind of experiences we can create for the fans and the parents that want to stay really abreast of what their team is doing and how they're performing. And I think we're going to be a great spot for that in the future.
We talked about sponsorships a little bit. What are some creative ways that you've seen Huddle users connect with sponsors, either for streaming or in other areas? I know I'm ambushing you with this question, but anything come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it pretty much the whole thing. Everything from standard ad reads from student announcers that they might have in there. They'll just do a quick plug and share it before tip off or during a timeout or something like that. To we have a lot of schools that will use our production truck software to stream their games. It allows you to be able to put a little bit more production quality behind your broadcast. And what they'll do a lot of times is a local taco place here in Lincoln, Amigos, will do some local advertising. They'll send the school a 30-second clip, and then the school will decide to play that during timeouts or during halftime. And so it's almost like a commercial within a high school broadcast that the school gets to control. We've also seen schools be able to go out and sell that sponsorship inventory on top of whatever they already do. They might have a video board sponsor or a program sponsor for that game. Now they can build it into their streaming sponsorships or their ticketing sponsorships and just be able to get more value out of that. We also have some technology coming out soon where we'll be able to insert ads intelligently for schools when there's a timeout or when there's a break in the action. Obviously, we're rolling that out pretty slowly. The last thing we'd want to do is interrupt the dance team's performance at halftime with an ad or something. That would not be great. But if we can find smart ways to be able to allow schools to monetize their streams in really low lift ways, that's exactly what we want to do too.
Well, and again, you already mentioned it, or maybe it was Jenny. If that dance team is part of the school platform, they're videoing their performances anyway. They can go out and sell a sponsorship. You're the official sponsor of the Centennial High School Dance Huddle program. So again, there's a lot of opportunities there to connect. Really cool stuff. Almost enough to make me want to come back and be a full-time athletic director again. Greg and Jenny, we're going to get you again, but we know huddle.com is the website. But if one of our listeners, wants to reach out, maybe they got a laser focused question for you, what do they do? How do they get their questions answered about Huddle?
Yeah, if they have any general questions on the product, obviously our support team is available pretty much constantly right downstairs in the office that I'm at, ready to answer your phone call or your email. And that's just support@huddle.com. Or if you want to be a part of our betas or be on the kind of cutting edge and testing different things for us, you can reach out to me directly. greg.nelson@huddle.com is my email, and I'll get you in touch with the right product team to be able to do some beta testing. We're always looking for people to try new things, be willing to endure some of the bumps along the way, but also be able to kind of be on the cutting edge of product that we're building and feedback that we're giving. And it creates a really nice connection with our team. I think one of the things that we talk about internally as a value system is that we want to thrive on the front lines. And that's true of every department at Huddle. It's not just sales and support. It's every part of the product team too. So we really do try to live out that value.
Right. Well, again, as a user, both as a coach and as an AD, the product was fantastic. And people have choices when they choose what product they're going to use. The product was great. The customer service, I dare say, was even better. Again, check out Huddle if you have somehow not got involved with the Huddle program. Jenny, one more time, if one of our listeners wants to connect with you, find out more about Huddle or just how you run things there at Centennial, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah. Like I said, I'm happy to connect with anybody. And my email here is jenny.wagner@centennialbroncos.org. And I, would be happy to connect with anybody.
Greg Nelson and Jenny Wagner, thanks so much for sharing with our listeners today on Tech Tuesday, and looking forward to seeing you both at the National Conference in Orlando.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Jake.
For our listeners, we do this every single week, and we upload the Zoom recordings to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. Of course, we appreciate you listening. Come back next week for another great tech tip, and just about every day for new content on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Well, always great to hear from our friends at Huddle, who are one of our sponsors. And as you heard, I used Huddle as a coach, as an AD. You should be using it too. We want to give a shout out to the rest of our sponsors. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your parents or your student athletes, you're really missing out. Go to athleticsurveys.com to get started. VitalSignsWallOfFame.com is the website. Check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles, whether it's to show off your record boards, your Hall of Fame, or your school's diverse history. VitalSignsWallOfFame.com is something you should be using. We want to say thanks to Snap Mobile. That's the parent company. Snap Raise is the fundraising arm. We use Snap Raise at our school. Hands down, it's the best online fundraising platform out there. It works. Go to snapraise.com to get started. We also want to thank Gipper. Go to Gipper.com. Start creating world-class content for your school's social media channel. That's Gipper.com. Home Campus. As an athletic director, I used Home Campus every single day, and it was just fantastic. To get started, go to homecampus.com. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo. You'll be very happy you did. And Hometown Ticketing. Hometown Ticketing is the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com to get started. Thanks again for listening to this episode of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. Don't forget to tune in to our flashback series, our top 10 interviews for downloads playing up and into our National Athletic Director Conference. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.